Hi, everybody. This is day 1312. And let's see if I'm on Facebook. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so here we go. Looks like I'm live. Thank you, everybody. So I was just looking at a video of my dad um, at Santa Fe Bridge searching for Richard. And because, of course, from the very beginning, we ha- were given very, very good advice about Richard's case, and that is to record everything, to document everything, to journal everything, everything. And so we have done our best in following that advice. And the thing is a lot, most of the time we really don't follow people's advice, but God was good and we followed that advice. We absolutely did. Because at the beginning, we did have some hope that we didn't know the level of betrayal in our 44 four-star generals and admirals. And, you know, there is no doubt at this point, over 3 years, that our 44 four-star generals and admirals, and I know what I'm saying because they have so much power. Okay, but what I'm saying is that they need to be removed from that power. The whole structure needs to be reevaluated, how they get appointed, who gets appointed, how they can stay in the position. How Mealy was able to stay in his position and now be hired by J.P. Morgan Chase is, uh, you know, it's absolutely. Uh, r- do you understand? It has nothing to do with him going and working. It's the results of that. JP Morgan Chase is a very, very powerful bank, has a lot of control over the people, has a lot of control over the economy, and worldwide, not just over the United States. And for them to hire such a failure, such a betrayer, such a treasonous person, a treasonous fraction of a man, as my daughter would say, a fraction of a man, um, is so concerning. And so the level of betrayal um, of the American people, of the American taxpayers, that is our 44 four-star generals and admirals who were appointed by Congress. Okay, they get their stars through Congress. Um, so it tells you that Congress does have some power in that respect. That they, of course, they have to appoint who their donors tell them to appoint. Right? They're empty suits. They're just puppets. And we absolutely know that now because we are, 34 trillion, maybe more, in debt. Now, if they had any sense of loyalty to this country, we would never be in that kind of debt. And where am I going with this? Because, of course, I've been listening to CPAC. Of course, we voted here in South Carolina yesterday, so politics has been, on everybody's in everybody's discussion. And happy Sunday, everyone. I should say happy Sunday at the very, very beginning. We're in Lent. We're in Lent, and the color for today was purple. The liturgical color for today is purple, which stands for the sorrow of our sins. The sorrow for our sins, which can be a very happy thing because when we are when we are sorry for our sins, that means we are on the road to confession, the cure of souls, and um, and we're not bold and braggart about our criminal enterprises, um, which, I just was reading through the 800 pages, and there's one individual, shocking, because, we have x ray vision now of this redaction. We know this case so well that we know what's been redacted. And so we know who said what. And, Team Find Richard Halliday, we all piece it together, and it is really shocking what they admit. So, yeah, the intelligence. Anyway, back to the generals. Uh, you know, no soldier left behind has not applied. Okay, it did not apply. It has not applied, not just for Richard, but for many. This army of one, be all you can be, it does not apply. Okay, it is a ruse. It is a ruse, and I will publish very soon the veterans group that I belong to, that Team Fire Richard Halliday belongs to, um, just posted about the enormous suicides in the military, the suicide problem. The whole time my husband was in the military, he didn't know one soldier, not a one, that committed suicide. And now it's just off the charts. Absolutely shows the failure of our 44 four-star generals and admirals, and the danger of it all. The danger of it all, and also their conflicts of interest. I mean, Matlock is still in. Lieutenant General Matlock. He couldn't even put on his third star for a while because of, they had to let it all clear a little bit. They didn't want another Guillen situation. He absolutely needs to be arrested. He needs to be stripped of his uniform, his stars. He's married to a connected person. So um, it's all this conflicts of interest, and this all needs to change, because with who and who where you are put and why you're put there and all of that, it has been so detrimental to our military and to our country, and it is all over the place. I didn't realize it was so big. You always know it a little bit. You always know that, of course, the nepotism is there a little bit, the who is always there a little bit. But this is with the criminal enterprises, y'all. They have created these huge criminal enterprises. And we have exposed that, not willingly. It has been exposed because we've been looking for Richard. Lift this up, and you see things that you would never see before, because you're looking for your gold coin. I used to always, and I still do, call my children my gold coin, my treasure, right? They are my gold coin, and if anyone knows me and my love for economics, my just disregard for the Federal Reserve banks of the world, you have to realize that the wars, all these little wars that have been going on, the day after Libya, um, they created uh, a bank of a reserve bank, right? Because Libya didn't have a reserve bank, they created a reserve bank. The same thing with Iraq. The same thing. All these countries we invade, it's really to create a reserve bank, and that so that worldwide there's a reserve bank, and that they can control us by the economy. And so gold being so beautiful, so malleable, the most malleable, um, one, I guess, I think it's the most malleable metal. You can make it translucent without it um, getting brittle and falling apart. It's just amazing metal, doesn't tarnish. It's just amazing. Gold, it's so valuable too. But, gold will disappear. Gold and silver, we can't, idolize them. Um, so I'd call my children uh, my gold piece. They are my gold. And when you lose um, a gold coin, when you lose your gold, you go searching for it. And that's exactly what we did with Richard. And so we have been putting together, of course, a book along the way with all of our journaling, with all of our recording, with all of our um, gathering of evidence, being it circumstantial, being it hard facts, being it irregularities. We have gathered it. And, you cannot be like John Briggs, right? John Briggs leaves it all in pieces. We cannot be that way. We have to take all of that information, all of that evidence, and we need to go through it and organize it and, and put it in order to see the bigger picture. And that's what we've been doing. And so from the very beginning, it's like, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book. And it wasn't to write a book um, for any kind of capitalization on this or anything like that. The reason, and I have them right here. I have, notebook, notebook, notebook. Um, oh, did you see the back of that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's good. Um, I don't know how many of these spiral notebooks that we have filled up. It's a lot. It is a lot. And the reason why I write is because that's how I can memorize, I can absorb, wrap my head around Richard's case. Because for the longest time, it seemed so convoluted. And I said that over and over again. But it makes perfect sense now. It really does. It's all coming together. And so to put it all together for other people to absorb, for other people to wrap their heads around, why do we want to do that? Why do we want to create um, a record of Richard's case? Oh, okay, just like the CID that failed to mention Phil Waters. Can you imagine? Um, that's another, it's there's so many things that it has failed to mention, but it has failed to mention Phil Waters and his interview with Belin Rocha and Danae Katzen. They do not want those criminals to be exposed. They do not, and he absolutely exposed the criminals, and he himself is a criminal in my estimation. Absolutely conflicts of interest, absolutely in cahoots with up to no good, right? Up to no good. So, and Veltri didn't even put that in those 800 pages. Nothing about Phil Waters, the PI. Nothing. That is, and he was all over that CID office, and yet they didn't put the report in the 800 pages. Can you believe it? So, we are going through everything. And if you don't know about Phil Waters, that will also come out again very soon. Um, thank you, Lord, that we have the energy, the time, the know-how to do this, to put it all together, because people need to know. They need to know because we have um, a military leadership that is destroying our volunteer sons and daughters. They've absolutely, when you see the death count in our military in comparison to any of our wars that we were, any of the conflicts that we put them in, um, the overwhelming deaths from the uh, lack of leadership, from the breaches in security, from the absolute crime in the barracks, meaning the barracks being marketplaces for illegal drugs, the fentanyl, the weapons, the prostitution, the pedophilia, the pornography, the absolute child pornography, which is child torture, the human trafficking, the smuggling, the smuggling of weapons, of ammunition, like the brown tip bullets that are not registered for the most part. Everywhere I read, they're not registered. They're so easy to smuggle, right? And how would Patrick Crucius get his hands on brown tip bullets? Come on. Um, does he have friends right there on Fort Bliss? Does he know the DES? Thomas Kane? Does he know uh, Marlon Soto? Does he know Dallas Hart? Did Dallas Hart give him entry into the arms room? How did he get brown tip bullets, right? If they're at the crime scene at the Walmart August 3rd, 2019 mass shooting. Um, that needs to be, wow, that, because they were saying that Patrick Crucius was using an AK-47. Well, AK-47s, everywhere I read, they're not really compatible to brown tip bullets. So something's going on there. And we have a pretty good idea because Glendon Oakley Jr. said that they had M4s, which are totally compatible with the brown tip bullets because they are the short barrel, the short barrel. And these bullets are used for exactness. They're very specialized. It's for really a hit job. That's what it's for. Those brown tip bullets are for a hit job. They're super fast, 71 grains in them opposed to 62 or something like that. They're very fast and they're armor piercing. They're body armor piercing. And so, they're meant to kill. So if that bullet hits you, um, you know, even a bullet from an AK-47, you would not be walking around going back to the auto department, you know, even bent over or whatever. You wouldn't be doing that with two shots from an AK-47 in you. No, something else happened in that Walmart, and we know that it was an orchestrated hit. We know that it was way more than a lone shooter, that Patrick Crucius has a severe mental health condition. We have it confirmed that he's autistic. So absolutely no way could he pull that off. And for the response of the um, law enforcement, it also reveals that they were that the narrative was malleable and they were forming it into the narrative that they wanted. And of course, Glendon Oakley Jr. ended up dead in April of 2020 in his barracks room because of his testimony. And that could never be in court to fit in their narrative because it would blow up their narrative, totally blow up. His testimony totally blew up their narrative. And so I believe that there needs to be an investigation into the possible murder of Glendon Oakley Jr., who did not even get in the news as far as when he was found dead in the barracks. So I think that that is uh, another reason why we are putting everything together, because it took us a long time to find out about Glendon Oakley Jr. and to watch his videos, to see what a beautiful person he is, and for them to uh, do to him what they did to Richard. And it was very easy to spot because they use the same MO, right? They use the same harassers, the same vile, vulgar, the same tactics over and over again. And they did that to Richard. And if you get in their way, they'll do it to you. And this, it cannot happen um, if we want a future, right? If we want a future, um, a beautiful future. These are who's ever in control in these 44 four-star generals and admirals. They absolutely are on their own suicide mission for this country, because you have to have a productive country, a free country to enjoy, to enjoy. And don't take my word for it. Go look at the USSR. They tried it. They tried to imprison all of their political enemies. They tried to get rid of all the churches, to get rid of faith. They tried to change the calendar. They tried to change the monies. They tried to lace everything with gold. Stalin, no, really, it was who's that other one? Anyway, Lenin. Lenin wanted to cover everything, every bathroom, every toilet with gold, because he wanted to make gold worthless. You see, anything that was wonderful, he wanted to make worthless. And of course, they wanted to take away children right after they were born, and raise them in these little children farms. And I mean, they tried everything for over 50 years, and it all fell apart. Um, squeaky shoes is what they got, and everybody wanting to pay years worth of wage for a pair of Levi's. Um, you know, this is what they got. So, you know, we have this open borders right now, people coming from countries that this has been going on. Uh, this kind of, let's take over everyone's freedom, let's get rid of their ability to be productive, um, and let's take over the military. Let's take over the money. Let's take over the farms. Look at what they did in Cambodia. In Cambodia, they killed everybody that was a farmer, anybody that was a farmer, anybody that had left the country, any Christian, anybody that had any kind of degree. They killed everybody. And then Cambodia has just been, left with the lowest of the low. Nobody to mentor them, nobody, and it's just, uh, and this is years ago, and they've suffered so much. Oh my gosh, so much death and destruction, and such a lower quality of life because of the lack of production and everything. And so this is the threat that these generals, and I do point to the generals because I know that they are appointed by the Congress, but these generals have weapons, y'all. They have a command. They have a commanding voice. They are over our sons and daughters. Um, we have got to scrutinize them every day, day in and day out, because they're up to no good, and we have got to restrain them, restrain their decisions. That's what I mean by restrain. Restrain their evil, their warmongering. Um, Absolutely, by letting them know that we are watching them, that we do not want any more new wars under their command because they are not worthy. They are not trustworthy. We have so many dead soldiers, dead service members. It is just one failure after the next, one failure program after the next. Our military is not ready. This is a national security threat. And when Richard went missing, absolutely, it exposed the General Matlock, uh, who he's a lieutenant general now, Lieutenant General Matlock. Couldn't even put on that third star because, okay, I'm under a little scrutiny here because of Vanessa Guillen and Gregory Morales and um, Richard Halliday now is, oh, he can't be another Guillen. I have to wait to make sure we can hide his remains good so we can never find him. So I could pin on my third star. I mean, really, literally, it is just that bad. And Major General Clem Coward, he'll have to go and service those that little failed program called sexual harassment and assault. That is out of sight, just a total failure. Um, so yeah, it's not a wonder our country is in the state that they are in because our military leadership is just been given, free reins of trust that they should not have. They have not deserved our trust. We are in so much debt. We have failed war after failed war after failed war with, you know, trillions of dollars from the Pentagon. They cannot pass an audit. So, they have not earned our trust. And the there has to be a lot of scrutiny so that the Congress will think once, twice, three times on who they appoint to the next star and who they appoint to wear our beautiful uniforms and lead our volunteer sons and daughters. This is a huge problem that has been very clear to us that we have faced through this. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the very beginning when, in the middle of, the beginning of COVID or in the middle of COVID, also right in the same month that Vanessa Guillen's announcement of her remains were found, Richard goes missing. And this is in the wake, the aftermath of the Walmart mass shooting case, which Richard's case is interconnected with. And so we have the Walmart case, we have Vanessa Guillen and Gregory Morales and Austin Hawk and Enrique Roman Martinez and Caleb Smither. And, we have so much going on at Fort Hood, which is now Fort Cavazos because they're so embarrassed. They just are one big failure, so they have to change the name, which costs us millions of dollars to do that. And, and then also 2020 was an election year. So that was a very political year. And with the COVID mandate crisis, and with Vanessa Guillen and all the other crimes that were happening in the military, that was out of control. And then, of course, on the wake of the Walmart case and everything going on with that, Richard goes missing. And what do? They're not vigilant. They're not at their best. They take Richard off the rolls and throw us out in the street. That's what they did. And it wasn't until, we were begging for help, right? And we had to beg for help afterwards. We didn't know where to go because it left Richard's case in a no man's land because he was in nobody's jurisdiction. If the Army, because he went missing on Fort Bliss, if the army did not take up that case, then he was in nobody's jurisdiction. Nobody knew what to do. Nobody had the authority to help us. So that was just such an evil thing. So, of course, we took to social media, and social media was not as censored as it is now. I had many less followers, but we just got a lot of views, and it pressured the military into putting Richard back on the rolls. But they did not have good intentions, of course. The no man left behind did not apply, and they started on a smear campaign, a discredit campaign on Richard. Never have they mentioned that he was the distinguished honor graduate for his cycle number one for basic training and for AIT. Never did they mention that, which would have really helped garner support in the search and investigation for Richard. And no, what they did was quite the opposite. They smeared him, and they smeared him to the law enforcement community. Okay, I want everyone to know that because they're still doing it in that 800 page, even though they didn't even mention, um, the PIs. Oh, Richard had sex tapes that he turned in, and then Sammy calls her and says, "Hey, calls me back and says, I talked to Boleyn, and oh, those sex tapes are nothing. They're nothing. Um, it's just her with her boyfriend or whatever. There's no soldiers in it. There's no children in it." I'm like, really? You asked her? There's a lot of questions we have to ask her, and you have that kind of access, and now I have these screenshots, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, did she work at Dreams Cabaret? Did she work at Dreams Cabaret? Because Lilani Hart was getting her mail at Dreams Cabaret, and I have these pictures of Belen Rocha, and it looks like she was working at Dreams Cabaret. It looks like it. I don't know. Maybe someone can tell me. Um, and now you have Jaguars closing down. So all of these things that were happening that we were very patient on because we were just collecting and collecting and collecting the information to see who was what. Now we have a pretty good idea of who's who in all of this, and the suspect list in the murder of our son. Um, and when I say our son, I mean America's son, because Richard is a United States Army soldier. There's an invested interest for every American into him. And that's why we have the No Soldier Left Behind. That's why we have the Army of One. That's why we say, be all you can be. That's why we say, esprit de corps, right? Esprit de corps. Because there's an invested interest in every single service member in our military. And the response that we got was very, very telling that there was a criminal syndicate at play here. And we were being told, oh no, the Mexican cartel, they're not involved. I would know. I would know. I'm like, how would you know? How would you know that the Mexican cartel, um, you know, is the Mexican cartel in cahoots with our generals, with our law enforcement? And we just saw the picture um, of Department of State sitting across the table. Wow, that was very, very telling. Giving equipment, uh, American equipment, like nobody in America needs American equipment. You have to give it to Mexico. Who are they in cahoots with? And um, now we have the Attorney General Ken Paxton saying that the administration is in cahoots with the cartel that are controlling the border. And we were very, very happy that that was released because we've been wanting to tell everyone um, that absolutely the cartel are in the control of the border. And in order to be in control of the border, you have to have connections in the cartel with the Customs Border Protectors. You have to have a person in there in the FBI supervisory, right? You have to have people in the intelligence on Fort Bliss. You have to have generals in your pocket. You have to have judges in your pocket. You have to, make it profitable, make it very profitable, so that they will elect in a non citizen medical examiner, right? Medical examiner to, that's very, very important to label cause of death the way you want and everything. Um, and especially during that whole COVID mandate, crisis. Um, it, all of that needs to be checked because Mario Raskin Ortiz, who is the El Paso chief medical examiner, is absolutely a suspect in all of this. And he's not even an American citizen. And what connections does he have with the cartel? You know, I'd like to know what connections he has with the cartel. And they'd probably say, "Oh, no, you don't. No, you don't." At this point, you have to understand this is so we already are so breached. If we do not stand up to this fearlessly with the armor of God, then then there is no hope. God is going to give us over to them. That's what happens. Where there's wailing and gnashing of teeth, and this is all about pedophilia. This is all about child pornography, which is child torture. This is all about the assault on our volunteer sons and daughters. And Richard pulled on that string. And this chief medical examiner with connections to 3905 Bliss Avenue, which is the residence of Rosa Marie Valdez Garcia, and she has many more. She's not a slouch. She's not some poor, needy person. Okay? She is absolutely, she is absolutely in the lead. She knows what she's doing, and she attacked um, our son's investigation and his search. She attacked that. Why? Why would Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, connected to the medical examiner through 3905 Bliss Avenue, connected to Danae Katzen? I mean, then, is she like Danae Katzen's aunt? Is she a relative? I mean, or, do they all just use that address? Because these people have multiple identities. They have multiple identities, and it is just, it's like a little maze to go through it all. And but they're absolutely connected at 3905 Bliss Avenue. And she's attacking Richard's search and investigation with her son Thomas Hoffman. And they are victims' families, right? So who was Alexander Gerhard Hoffman Roach really? Who was he really? And I know that he was, divorced from her for years and years, decades even. Decades, I guess, in the 80s. In the 80s they met, I guess. I'm trying to put the timeline together. Um, and which is really telling because we were there. Let's see. Um, I'm trying to think about when yeah, the 70s, end of the 70s. My parents were still, that's showing my age a little. Um, I have 9 grandchildren. I have 9 grandchildren, so that I guess that shows my age too. Um, but yeah, belonged to the German American Club there, and So she was the wife of this German Air Force engineer, um, who went to, I think he went to Munich. I think he went to Munich University. I'm not sure. I think I read that he went to Munich University, which is München. Yeah. Um, so that would mean, I think, since I speak German, I think that Thomas Hofmann probably has three languages, which is amazing, right? That he speaks English, he speaks German, he speaks Spanish. That would make sense to me, right? So these are no slouches. These are accomplished people, but they're targeting uh, Richard's investigation. And the ex husband, who's no slouch engineer, what is he really up to if he's connected to 3905 Bliss Avenue and he's connected to Danae Katzen? And is he connected, or is that just Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, right? So these are very important questions because in the trial, who's sitting there? Chris Grant. And Chris Grant and Donna Sifford, they're using the same lawyer. They're using the same lawyer. Oh, wow. What a buddy system. What a buddy system there. Um, so, it is very, very clear that this was organized and that they could even do it and that they even thought that they could do it. And then they did it. And then they tried to pin it on Patrick Crucius totally. I'm not saying that he wasn't part of it. He was part of it, right? But who is his family? They Patrick Crucius is German Italian. So were they part of the German American Club? What connection does he have with El Paso? Because do not tell me that he had nothing to do with El Paso, that he just came, 750 miles. He came to the Walmart and just started shooting it up. Absolutely ludicrous. Uh, you know, Anyone that has lived in Texas, he could have gone to San Antonio. There's so many places. If he hated somebody, if he wanted to make, a point, he could have went much, much closer. This is, no, this was something different. And it has to do with Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. It has to do with Thomas Hofmann. It has to do with Alexander Gerhard Hofmann wrote, and it has to do with uh, Christopher Ernest Grant. It has to do with Donna Sifford. It has to do with Cynthia Hernandez Nieto and Jesus Eddie Nieto, with Bradford Bugado and Nadal Bayim. And of course, all the generals, right? And CID, because they sat there in front of us and said to us, "Oh, that guy in that Dollar General, he was just nobody, just some guy following you on your Facebook." They said that, and they knew who Cynthia Hernandez Nieto is because she works on Fort Bliss, y'all, and in intelligence, and absolutely knew who Bugado was, and absolutely 30-second adcom G3, right? They are the op board makers. Um, so they absolutely knew, and they lied to us. They absolutely lied to us. And that is such a violation on so many levels. So many levels. And if they know who Nadal Bayim is and all of the connections, because Nieto is connected to Angela Kachurga. y'all. She's connected to Angela Kachurga, right? Which is El Paso Matter. So they've got the media then in their pocket because, the media, and El Paso Matters um, went into effect in 2020, right? That's when it started. That's when, El Paso Matter started. Why? To be, to mess with us, to mess with us. They're, they have not been neutral. So to see the military acting the way they did, to see the law enforcement agencies act the way they did, to see the Department of Justice with what they did to Yvonne Rosales, even though, with the latest news, the latest information coming in, Yvonne Rosales was fighting her own demons too. And that was not good with her relationship with George Alejandra, right? Uh, you know, being diverted like that, falling for it. But we do have information that she was trying to look into Richard's case, it's in the news, trying to bring forth the Walmart case. And John Briggs was blocking her from that. And so she fired him. And 2 days later, she got the wrath, right? They were working behind her back. Bill Hicks. Bill Hicks was representing at the time Purchase Funeral Homes while working to unseat her with Justin Underwood, who is Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia's attorney. So they're all connected. They're all connected here. And that's why I have to write everything down. Team Find Richard Halliday, we write everything down. We organize everything so that we can remember who's who in all of this. Because this, even though it seems like a large group, it's a small group there. But it has infiltrated into our military, and they have allowed it, and they have allowed these breaches in security for the M4s to get off base, right? For the weapon smuggling, for the brown tip bullets to, get off base. Because absolutely under Thomas Kane, and he even said it, that the installation security had been breached. And, and where are the CCTV footage of Richard? There's so many things missing. There's so many things tampered with. Uh, there's so many violations. We have, barracks full of all kinds of contraband. And, so that just proves over and over and over again the breaches of security that we have. And now we're learning that there's breaches of security with the border, And of course, the FBI looking for Richard and finding Richard's remains in Mexico. And the lack of seriousness, they automatically went into hiding mode, with the whole thing, which indicates that they did not want any of that to get out. They did not want to be held accountable, because if they're being held accountable, or if there's any scrutiny, or if there's any oversight into that incident, they would have to investigate and report on that investigation. And that just didn't happen, did it? It just didn't happen. They did everything they could not to get the Mexicans to search that area. So we are working very, very hard to do this research of the area and get to the truth of what transpired in the search for Richard's remains, partial remains, okay? Partial remains in the United States, partial remains in Mexico. That is over and over again what we're hearing, and all the information corroborates that, because Sean Bernabe was looking for Richard's partial remains there um, at the mock Afghanistan village. And then, of course, we have the search there. Um, what is it called? Hondo Pass, the Hondo Pass search. So you see all of these elements in this, um, are coming together, coming together, coming together, and they can't deny it anymore. The evidence is too overwhelming that that indictments need to go out. Okay, it's overwhelming. Just the lies, just what Veltri has done to key witnesses. The key witnesses in this case, the destruction of key witnesses in this case is so big. So it wasn't enough that they destroyed and dismembered, murdered, dismembered our son Richard, and then dishonored him by not calling us, by not giving us his remains, by not, it's, that it's so evil, just evil. It was not enough to do that to him, to do that to us. They had to do it to our witnesses. And, that is just unconscionable. It cannot go on. We have to stand up against it, because if we think that it will go away with us ignoring it, it won't. It gets worse. That's why we're in this situation. Think about the debt. The debt is a great indication of where we're going. And even with the success of yesterday, South Carolina, is it a success? You know, um, you just have to answer those questions, because remember, when President Trump was in office, the military were not obeying. Were not obeying and working against him. They weren't obeying the commander in chief, and they even said that they would notify. No, Milley said, I would notify China. He was more loyal to China than he was to his commander in chief, and he absolutely needs to be arrested. It's just so detrimental to our nation, to our volunteer sons and daughters, to the trust, because if you are not abiding by the system, if you're doing your own will, it is so dangerous, right? It's just so dangerous. They have an oath of office. Why do they even take an oath of office if they don't have to abide by it, right? If they can just do their own will. And we say it in the Lord's Prayer, and we got even gas. We got gas for saying the Lord's Prayer, because the Lord's Prayer says, not our will be done, thy will be done, Lord, right? As it is in heaven. So, this is the crazy um, situation that we have found ourselves in, that laws don't mean anything, oaths don't mean anything, protocols don't mean anything. They can just weaponize our Department of Justice, they can just weaponize our military against their own. So now they want to bring in all of these migrants or these illegals into our military, so that we have a foreign military. I mean, that's what they're talking about. So, what is a win? What is a win? And so we have to stand up against this lawlessness, this lawlessness. And I can tell you that Richard absolutely was aiming at being lawful. Okay, absolutely 100%. His whole record, everyone has to be very, very clear on that. His whole record is, witness to the fact that Richard was trying to be law abiding. He's a yellow Interpol. There's no red Interpol. He's not on the FBI criminal database. He did not go AWOL. He is not a deserter. He was forcibly removed and murdered. He was whistleblowing on, all kinds of things, and it can even be the monies, misuse of funds. It could be the weapon smuggling. It can, of course, we know it was child protective services, and the IG, and we know he was talking to FBI Houston. We know that he was talking to Washington, D.C. We know that he was whistleblowing, and he was whistleblowing hard, and they were investigating these criminals, and these criminals that are related to Richard's case are related to the Walmart mass shooting that diverted the attention from all of it, and also took that opportunity to be a political, ideological attack on us. That was a lie, a false witness to say that it was a hate crime, but and it was, of course, a hate crime, but it wasn't a racist hate crime like they say. Absolutely no way. You watch Patrick Crucius, absolutely no way. Okay, and I would like to know who made that manifesto, because that was directed. That's just all orchestrated. I'm absolutely convinced of it, because Chris Grant is a total perpetual criminal. Okay, totally perpetual criminal. And Donna Sifford absolutely knows him and absolutely has other connections that are conflicts of interest. She also needs to be arrested. So, all these people, um, absolutely, there's more proof than what we need, beyond a reasonable doubt, that they orchestrated um, this political attack, this murderous attack, this financial gain for the passing of the bond, um, this ideological hypnosis attack on the people of El Paso, and yeah, so it's just you know it has to be said. Someone has to say it. So please, uh, take my videos. You can, just share them everywhere, because someone has to say what Ken Paxton just said, and that is that this administration is in cahoots with the cartel. And I would say that the military leadership are giving indications throughout this whole investigation that they also are in cahoots with the cartel, because they leave our military installations open. They leave the breaches there. They encourage the breaches. Um, and even through the COVID, right? The breaches were there with the "we'll bring on girls," for the parties. Um, they were absolutely knew, the leadership absolutely knew that COVID was a farce, that it was a ruse, that it was a weapon instead of something that was a disease. We know now, because they cannot produce a virus, we know now that it was a ruse, um, that it was just fear mongering, that it was just a weapon. And they knew that, and they used it against our own military, our own people. It was crimes against humanity. And, this is all in the wake of Vanessa Guillen. And, there is no confession, no attempt to change their ways. Just just some lipstick on a pig, you know. There was no attempt. So, and then with Richard's case, no soldier left behind did not apply to Richard's case. They wanted to leave him behind. They wanted to leave him in pieces. They wanted to leave his case in pieces. They wanted it to go away. And Team Find Richard Halliday said, no, he's our son. He's our brother. He's our soldier. He is, he's a human being. And, we want to know where he is. And um, for that, we've exposed a lot of evil, y'all. And I'm so grateful for it. And I don't know how far that will go. I don't know how far that victory, because that's a victory right there, just everything that we've exposed. And I don't know how far that victory will go. Um, in order to get these generals arrested, in order to get these law enforcement leaders arrested, and really shake up everything. But we're trying very, very hard. We're trying very, very hard every day to do this. So we appreciate your prayers. The attacks have been vile and vulgar, and that has, for us, that's indication that we are over the target, that we are doing the right thing. Okay, because these evil, it's like Satan, get behind me, and they're like, ah, no, 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 I don't want to, they're just gnashing their teeth and growling and everything. So no, we want loyalty back. We want honesty back, and selfless service back, and we want the no soldier left behind to mean something. We want the Medal of Honor ethos. We want the esprit de corps. We want that army of one to mean something, you know. So that's why we're doing all of this for our security, because we need a military that honors the protocols, honors the oath of offices, so that it will defend our Constitution, right? So that is really, really important to guard our future and our freedom. And those are not just words, that is absolutely the truth. And so someone has to stand up against this criminal cartel uh, cabal that has infiltrated the highest positions um, that we have there in El Paso and on Fort Bliss, and I would say even higher up. So this election is really, really important, and just pay a lot of attention, because they're very snaky. They're very snaky, and you have to read through everything and be very, very alert all the time. So thank you so much for coming on. Please share. God bless you. And I can't tell you enough how much we love you. And please, please share this information. We are, being stopped um, at every turn. And so these live streams are just that important. That's why I do them, because I know how important they are, and also how important for our safety that they are. So please, please share. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. There's risk with everything in life. And this is a absolutely the right thing to do. Absolutely. And this is another reason why I come on, because I want you to see that we're authentic. I want you to see everything that we've been through, so you can check and have oversight on everything that I say. Um, and you absolutely know that that no soldier left behind did not apply, and that they were absolutely in sabotage mode, and didn't want us to find out and expose what happened to Richard. So thank you, everyone. God bless you. Thank you, Anicia, always coming on for your love. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.